Hiya, it's Xavier, back down the bottom of the garden, and as I said, this is one of the last of the pieces I was going to do on different styles of pruning, and in many ways there's been crossover in the last couple between secondary and just the starts of tertiary, but definitely the two trees are going to feature in this next, and I don't know whether it's going to be a part 4A, part 4B, whatever, but the first of them is going to be this Yamadori grasshopper. I grew him from a little small metal shaving, or was it a staple? I can't remember. No. Anyway, is this silver birch. I haven't got a turntable that's good enough to turn it, but this was, look at that, and there's the size of my hand, and that's the Nambari on it. Absolutely massive. Beautiful, beautiful. It's the first time I ever retrieved a tree from the field as well. And the bark on this silver birch is beautiful. There's some silver bits in there, and when I got it, I think it was, the trunk probably hasn't changed that much in terms of its thickness, but it was, I think it just had one branch going up, and it was fairly straight. You'll see some pictures of it somewhere over there. I mean, this stands a good 2.5 feet tall. 2.5 feet tall. It's been prune combination, well, it's not a combination, I do wiring every 2 years. It's been wired to try and encourage the branch and the pad development that I want. This year, wire was pulled off. I don't know if I did a video of it, but the wire was pulled off in end of May. I mean, the tendency for these, like all deciduous, is they want to grow up anyway. What I'm going to do now is cut it right back. This is tertiary now. I'm definitely looking at the tertiary branch structure, so I will be directional pruning. And I've heard with silver birch they do have a tendency to just lose branches. It's a bit like when you take your kids shopping. It's just sometimes you just lose one. There's no explanation for it. No, seriously. So they can drop branches, and that certainly happened here. Before that opened up, there was another branch that just fell off. There's one here, just died. But no, brilliant tree. I love working on them. It's got a lovely hollow that goes down to about here in the tree. I've just been seeing some videos a few months ago about trying to preserve the centre of the tree, and you put an epoxy down there or something, basically to stop moisture getting into there. But I'm not sure. I'm going to do some more reading on that. I mean, ultimately it's natural. They love to bud. Lots of times you get buds here profusely. Always get rid of that. You want the energy up there. So without much further ado, I'll be taking this, and I'll just be probably a lot of time lapse because I've gone through all the techniques with you. I will literally wear here, lower. I don't need a lot of energy. I'm not going to make this thicker. All these branches the thickness I want. So I want to tighten it and increase ramification. So I will literally go back to here. There's a nice junction here, so I'll probably take it there and there. I'll do the same all the way around, bring it right in, and then let it flush out and see what happens. Anyway, I'll let you enjoy, hopefully not too much of my stomach as I stand up and start pruning away at this. Okay, nicely covered by my my branch. See, I've just got the lower structure to do. You've probably seen through that it almost seems a bit of random clipping. I spend a lot of time there just looking at where there is some dormant buds that normally swat. They've got some green, so you know they'll activate if the oxen is cut from the top, or I think it's the oxen is cut when you cut the ends of the tips. It just means you get the energy redistributed elsewhere. So that's the reason why I've picked different ones. Where I've got really long internodal distances, I've made a couple of strong decisions to cut back, and I've also, for the first time, removed a lot of older growth that I didn't like the direction it was going, and I'm regrowing some probably some of the secondary, few secondary, but mainly tertiary branches. So that's why this has probably been cut back a lot more. Again, the leaf removal has just simply been because I want to increase light through there, and where there was that copper red rust on the leaves, I tend to remove all those, and obviously I'm going to have to give this a spray with something to reduce that. There's also some white shells underneath these. Sometimes you get little spiders being born. We all love spiders, but not in our silver birch. So I'm now going to go to the bottom, so I shall for a while. Cheers. I will say this, this is the perfect example. You've got stuff here that you look at, oh, it's a pain, and this is why you want to wire, because you've actually got a good little branch structure here, and all you need to do here, these are pointing up, you could be tempted to just cut all the way back to here, but what you actually want is you've got two buds there, that if you just put a bit of wire and push down, then you may get the branch structure you want, buds from here and here. So we'll do that, get rid of that. Now that's what's in my head, that's what's going to happen, and I'll do that in the, might do that today actually. Get rid of these ones, take a little bit off. Now this doesn't always work because that's already quite a pretty solid branch there, but it's amazing if you have a wire on for 9 months. As it feeds more sap through for the more growing, I'll let these grow right out. That will then allow the tissue to repair where the bend happens, because even though you don't see it, damage is being done every time you bend it. That will set potentially in position. Not that I may want it there. So some of the times I've been looking at the length and thinking about how it'll look when I wire it. You've got this one here that's going straight up. This one is actually at the top. It's actually the top of that knuckle, so I'm not going to be able to wire it down, but what I will be able to do is wire it around, so we'll have it going up and around. So that's what's going to happen there. So it's always worth remembering, if you're going to be wiring, think before you cut. Right. And this one, actually this one I mean, with right at the end of the branch, got this massive great internodal distance. The temptation is to take it all the way back here and try and regrow from here and then rewire direction. But I've noticed just here on that junction point there's a little green tip. So what I'm going to do is take a chance. Do that, and that's to activate. If it doesn't activate, then I can still go with my original plan here. But no matter how much you want to keep some of your growth, if the internodal distance is wrong and it's actually increasing, then it's not going to sit in with how the tree should actually look. Again here we've got quite big internodal distances happening. A little green fly. Bud there. So ideally if that activated, send a whole set of new growth there. And as I said, trees like to grow. So by you saying to the tree, put all the energy and try and grow again, it'll be more than happy. Now I can wire that down, but that distance between that bud and that bud is still massive, so I'm going to go for that. See what happens. The worst thing that could happen with this one, if you literally look at this, I don't know if you see, that's actually quite straight, not a lot of taper on it. I may actually end up at some point cutting this one off and regrowing from there. And my clipper's getting blunt. Okay, so that's the pruning done. I've probably taken off at least 50% of the leaf mass. I've kept some leaves bigger. I'm used to this. It responds really well to a prune around this time of year. So I'm happy that I can take off more than less, and as I get more experienced I realise you've got to take off more. You've got to look where those points are, where the buds are. They will activate. So you've got a much better view of it. Let's see if we can turn this. Great big trunk. I mean, it's fairly standard, there's no taper as such there, but this is such an interesting feature. I love this. It's got to be at least 30 years old. I've had it for, well, I formed it from just a single trunk that high. Well, it was 6 foot high, but I cut it. So that's the first one I ever learnt on like this. So I've got to do a little bit of weeding and get rid of all this, looks like the Scottish moss, and then I'll give it a load of biogold, and then I'll put it somewhere shady, because obviously some of these leaves are now going to be exposed to sun that haven't had sun. But this is really what I'd consider sort of tertiary work. I'm definitely looking at the tertiary structure on this. There is a little bit of wiring to do, and I say in particular this area is where the wiring is going to happen. But I'm not going to show that on here. I'll do that another time. You've seen lots of wiring from me, so you can watch me do a little bit of removal here. I've actually got all the old wire here I've got to get rid of. Oh, and one tip when you're doing these bigger trees, or most trees actually, is it's like this with wire. There's wire all over. This is messy. I mean, it's not something that, you know, if you're proud of a tree, you necessarily want people looking at all the wire and cuttings and that. So a good bit of advice is lay a tea towel or something over the base while you're doing that work, whether it's big wire removal, leaf removal, and then you can just take the whole lot in one go. That's something I'd say there. While you're removing the moss, it's also another opportunity to have a look at the soil underneath the surface, just beneath, and just see. Quite a lot of dried stuff. It's quite gritty. I think when I repotted this one, I was still using almost a 50-50 inorganic organic sort of peat base. So I think this one will actually get potted next year. It'll be in 100% kitty litter and vermiculite and grit, and I reckon it'll really do well, because the key is that the more ramified your root structure is, it's funny, conversely it works the same way for these. You start getting greater and greater ramification. It's worth noting that in some of these areas I've actually noticed that there's some surface roots there, and because the moss or the weed that's growing on top is probably about 1 centimetre deep, it does mean that I'm going to be exposing those delicate surface roots, and I actually want those to continue to develop. So what I will do is probably give this a light top dressing, and it won't be top dressing of moss, because all that'll happen is the birds will eat it. I haven't got enough wire to put over that anyway, but no, I'll just go for a straightforward bonsai mix style on top. It's important with all these sort of Yamadori ones, or anything that's got a lot of exposed nabari structure there, or to just dig out around the roots to make sure they're not rotting. And it's also nice just to expose a little bit more structure. But you can also pick up where roots have been dying, just cut them away, neaten it all up. A lot of this moss here is actually pretty dead, and the spores will continue to grow again once it's damp. But I noticed that a lot of this top soil was actually quite hard, so it wouldn't surprise me if there was a reduced water flow through, which might explain why this one has suffered more from rust this year and bugs, because it doesn't normally suffer as badly. And that can also be a sign that the tree is stressed or not getting what it needs. And normally it links to, you know, good airflow or within the roots, balance of water and oxygen, as Ryan Neal would always say. I'm not digging it in or anything, it's just about giving it a just nice even layer. Making sure I cover any of the areas that I've recently exposed. I want to protect, or anything that's, any of those younger roots that I saw growing under there. There's a nice rock there, I forgot that was there. And yes, it would be absolutely fantastic if I could do all the mossing and stuff like that. And you know, this has had a beautiful covering of moss on it in the past, but when you hear, when I do my videos here, you can hear them, the birds are literally everywhere. I was going to say to you, I don't actually put bird sounds onto this video most of the time, apart from now actually it's relatively quiet. The birds are going hammer and tong. But it is near lunchtime now, so they're probably going off to the bird pub. And I mean, you know, when we get to the top dressing style, it is the one area that is just as important for the presentation of your tree. It's probably the one area that annoys me most, that I can't, you know, show the tree off to its absolute maximum potential, just simply because the birds. But you know, that's nature. 100%, but it's funny how a plant responds when it's got the equivalent to a new set of clothes on. Not quite a repot or anything like that, but when you dress them like this, they do respond. And there it is. So grasshopper can come back. I've got grasshopper because that was given to me as a special gift from someone. So it doesn't do much for the tree, but it's an appreciation the person who gave it to me. So, from Xavier down the bottom of the garden, I'm now going to go up and have a bit of lunch. It's actually gone into the hot part of the week again, so we're 25, 26 for the next few days. So I struggle to get much work done in that sort of weather. Do you know, this camera makes me look fat? I never realised that. What if I got a different camera, whether that would make any difference? Anyway, have a great afternoon. Hope you got something out of this. No great learning points, but it's a beautiful tree and I love it. And let's say the next one you're going to see is going to be a small Chinese elm. Cheers.